today?
Hey Scott, what's happening, buddy?
Hey,
Jamie, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, Andy. Doing well. Doing well. I can't
Just
say another day in the salt mines because, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but yeah, an interesting day nonetheless.
yeah. We don't like to refer to trading as the salt mines. I've had jobs where where I went to the salt mines, and this is more fun for sure.
Some
But
days, some days you've got your beatings and it feels like the salt mine, but hopefully, very few salt mine-like days in the month.
there you go. Daniel, I see you're already putting in a question there, and we do. Scott, I kind of remember you from Tuesday, and I told you I would do that. Daniel, hold on to that question. It may be something we ask for you to send an email into us on that one. And Scott, yes, I have put together some good stuff for you to see, how our software works, how you can use this incredible technology to build alerts, and that's part of the webinar today. So we'll go over that. But before we go over anything, let's take care of the legal issues first. Once again, people, I know you hear this over and over, but we have to do it by law, and this is for educational purposes only. Anything that you see and hear today should not be construed as investment advice. If that's what you're seeking, please look for a RIA or a registered stockbroker. If you want to go sit down with them and hear about passive funds and ETFs and things like that, be my guest. But I think you've come to the right spot. If you're looking for some really cool software, some fun stuff with some incredible alerts, scans, top lists. But let's talk about not only that, but our service that goes along with this software. And I know some of you regulars in here, we do appreciate you coming in here each week. Sorry we have to go over this every time, but we're so proud of it, and we need to let those who are kicking the tires know that we're much more than just an incredible software, and we back it with 5-star support, education, and training. It starts in the trading room each morning, 30 minutes before the market opens, with Barry Inerson. Now, he is on vacation right now. Will be out until the 19th. Dan has been filling in for him, which can also be very entertaining. But anyway, yeah, get into that trading room. It's a great place. There's like 500 traders in there, some really good ones. It's really a good place to learn the software, and that's free to everybody. We have 4 webinars throughout the week in this kind of format, each in the 5 o'clock time zone, Eastern time zone. Usually Jamie, Steve, and myself are trying to juggle around in there, and you're going to get 2 out of the 3 each time. But on Wednesday, we throw you a little treat with Dan Merkin, our CEO, and Brad Williams, our CTO. And once again, I've been answering a lot of support questions about where can I get, I need to figure out how to do this. Where can you help me? There's no better place than the Friday support session. It's a question and answer format using this GoToWebinar, the same thing you're viewing right now, where we can talk to you and show you and answer your questions for you. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time, myself, Jamie, and Steve are all 3 in there. So great place to come, guys. If you have questions or you want to learn how to do something, as a matter of fact, when you have questions like the first one you dropped in there, Daniel, this is a great place to come, and we'll work through it with you. I'm not saying you have to wait till tomorrow morning. Hopefully we'll get to you sometime today. All right, when you sign up for Trade Ideas, you get a free one-on-one hour of training, and that's either with myself, Jamie, or Steve. This is a $99 value. We have people who take several of these because they find out that, hey, not only can I learn so much more about the software, I can pick the head of professional traders who've been at this for 20 years. Okay, and so I can learn more about trading. But once again, you subscribe to Trade Ideas either in the standard or the premium, doesn't matter. You get a free one-on-one training session. Very valuable little thing we throw in when you subscribe. All right. One other thing, we do have a module called the Brokerage Plus, and what this allows you to do, if you want to automate your strategies, you want to build an alert and automate it and tie it up to the IB, Interactive Brokers, you can do that with our Brokerage Plus product, okay? I'm not going to get too much into detail. If you want to find out more information on that, you can go to trade-ideas.com/beta and watch a nice little video about it. But it is still in beta and not sure when it's going to come out, so check it out if you're interested. The agenda for today, we're going to talk about the market recap. Not a whole lot going on in the market. Jamie is going to talk about his compare count today, which is kind of interesting what you saw in the first 20 minutes of the day. We're going to talk about the Holly recap, and I know there was one incredible trade in there, which some that weren't so incredible, but we kind of had a sloppy sideways kind of market. So nonetheless, we'll talk about the Holly recap. And who was it? Scott. Yeah, this is the anatomy of a good momentum alert. Okay, I'm going to show you the tools briefly, kind of go through what an alert is, what a top list is. I'll touch on multi-strategies, but I'm just going to show you what you can do with the software and how to build a good momentum alert. And then, guys, this Extreme Volume High-Low Pro, my favorite alert. Once again today, in a market that was doing absolutely nothing, I'm going to show you how you could be patient and sit on your hands for the first 30 minutes and found 4 incredible trades using this Extreme Volume High-Low Pro. And I will explain to you why this thing continues to spit out such good trades. And then as always, we open up for questions. Jamie, I can see, and Scott both are firing away right now. If some of you guys, some of your technical questions or anything about the software, you might want to hold off until the end, and hopefully we can cover it as we're kind of winding things down. But for right now, let's back out of this and get into the market recap here. And what we always do is kind of start with the good old SPY, SPY. Now what this is, it's basically an index ETF that comprises of all the S&P 500 stocks. And because that has the most in it, this is why we and pretty much everybody else in the industry uses it as the benchmark. This is what hedge funds are measured against. This is what mutual funds are measured against. So it's a pretty good tool to use to kind of get an idea of what the whole market's doing. And boy, what can you say? It's kind of been the same story now for a while. We just keep grinding higher. I mean, nice little stair step here if you look in the spiders just over the last several months. Just keeps popping up. Very little pullbacks. I think we may be close to setting a record for the longest time span to go through without more than a 5% pullback in the market. 5% is not very much, but it's been, oh gosh, I want to say, I don't know, 11, maybe getting close to a year. I might be wrong, don't quote me on that. But nonetheless, you can see it's just a nice move higher. We broke out of this level right here on the spiders. If you kind of exclude this little wick and popped above it and been just kind of going sideways now for 3 days, very little action. Today, we pretty much finished down a little bit, although the diamonds did have a little bit of up move compared to the other indices. One thing I want to pull up that's lagging right now, and I know a lot of participants probably have their eyes on it, and that is the Qs. The Qs, if you look here, over the last 4 months, they really haven't done a whole lot. I mean, if you go back to this point, pretty much the high, in June, right here, I'll mark it up. You're basically up about 2 points in the Qs, which is a very, very low percentage. Okay, and this could go back to the possible distribution theses that I've been talking about for a while, where you've been seeing some distribution to the downside. We get up here. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of IWM, the way it keeps kind of course, it's not as sloppy as this chart, but where it keeps trying to break out and just can't have any follow through. Every time it hits in a new high, there's no follow through. Now, there's a very good chance, this could just pop out tomorrow or Monday and be trading at 150 next week. But it needs to show me more than what it's showing me lately. The tech stocks just haven't really been doing a whole lot over the last 3 or 4 months. Time will tell if this ends up being distribution. If you keep seeing, down days with big volume. Okay, we've been at it now for about 3 months. If we get into another pattern like this, as you can see, the Qs well underperformed the diamonds and the spiders today. They were actually down about 0.6%. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen here. Most people are probably arguing it's just a matter of time for this kind of takes out this level right here and explodes higher. And odds are it probably does, but I need to see more than what I've seen lately as it breaks out and falls back. Tried it right here, took out this high, fell back. And it didn't even have enough strength to take out this high and close above this high over here. So we'll see what happens. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add to this chart here?
Looking, if you pull that SPY chart up again, Andy, sure. I think that the pattern that's playing out here is probably the exact opposite of what people were expecting. Coming back from the holiday weekend, getting back in the chair for September, summer's behind us, now it's off to the races. And then we did get a little bit of good action, but man, what a tight little range it's developing there. And I was thinking to myself earlier in the day before we went back to highs, I'm like, surely we're not going to have an inside day today. Yeah. But we almost did. We almost did.
We pretty much did, yeah. A little spinning. I mean, yeah. It's a good point you brought up. I can remember back in my early years, and I was always thinking, oh gosh, summer's behind us now. Kids are back in school. Labor Day's over. Now the market's going to crank up, and usually you're a little bit disappointed for a couple of weeks. It just seems like, it seems like October really kind of people's nerves are on edge a little bit because that's when all the crashes happen, and you get a little more volatility in the market. So we'll see. But nonetheless, I'm going to show you today, even with this very, very sloppy, basically no volatility, sideways action today in the market. If you're trading stocks, that are, not doing anything, and you don't have a software like Trade Ideas that can point you into stocks that are just really giving you alpha and momentum. Anyway, that's on the docket for later on. But before I do that, I'm going to have Jamie take the helm and show his compare count window, and then maybe talk about a couple of holly trades.
No problem, Andy. Let me just grab the baton from you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could get a couple of people to shout out and tell me if they can see my entire screen here. That way, don't have any black screens out there staying, blank because I'm on a 4K monitor.
Looks great from my end.
Okay, looks like everybody's saying yes. Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. Okay, so you've got eyes on my screen here. Now, when Andy's talking about compare count windows, I'm just going to take the liberty to pull them over here real quick. Now, I actually watch 4 of these things, but I pay the most attention to these 2 on the right here, which are the big cap stocks. So we have stocks over 4 billion market capitalization coming through here. I just want to take it up a little notch, and then I make another minimum of 5.4 billion in market cap. That's not a random number. 5.4 billion is the minimum market cap requirement to be considered to be a component of the S&P. But just because you have that market cap does not necessarily guarantee that you will be in the S&P. So if anybody's wondering where the 5.4 billion comes from, that's it. Now we've got some smaller denominations over here. Equities between 2 and 4 billion, and then the smaller stuff less than 2 billion. So what are these windows doing for me? And let's just push these guys over here and just focus on the larger cap ones. So right now they've been reset because I've reset my software and the market's closed, so we don't have any data coming through here. But what I do is I take a reading from these windows in the first 20 minutes. So for example, here we have right off of my Twitter feed, 20 minutes into the market this morning. What do we have over here on the big cap movers, the 4 billion and 5.4 billion? We've got 63 and 64% sell bias in the first 20 minutes. So now you might be wondering, well, what does that mean? You know, sell bias of what? Well, let's just take a peek at the configuration here, and I think it'll be pretty evident. So maybe you've used the compare count window with our software in the past, maybe you have not, but it's real easy to spawn one just by finding your TI toolbar. And once you find that guy, hold on, it's freezing me up there. Once you click on new here, you can spawn a new one just by clicking like so. Now, once we do get into configure here, in the compare counts, we've got aside for green data and we've got aside for red data. So when we hit configure here, it's almost, well, it's not almost, it is its own respective alert window for each side. So the trigger or the catalyst is relatively simple here. Stocks hitting new highs, but that meet this filter set right here. You can see I've got market cap minimum 5.4 billion. These two guys up here are just keeping the ETFs and the iShares out for me by default because they don't make money. So this guy does a pretty good job at weeding out ETFs and iShares without us having to use custom list functionality and exclude and maintain the list and everything. So just a little trick of the trade there. That's what the EPS filter can be used for, even though that's not what it was designed for. Now, here's the guy that really gives the special sauce in this respective configuration here. Simply put, as the stock meets the rest of the filter criteria and hits the high, it has to be exhibiting 3 times minimum or higher 1 minute volume levels. Now, the other side on the red data is exactly the opposite. Stocks hitting lows, but with the exact same filter set. So exact same filter set, just hitting lows and hitting highs. Now, the premise or the theory behind this is we're getting a peek at what the institutions are up to. Simply because every morning, you know, if you've been in the chair a long time or a short time, you know what the open is like. I mean, it's fast and furious. If you know what you're doing, well, there's some pretty good profits to be gleaned in the open. But man, one slip up, it's like Hoover Dam when they open the floodgates, right? You can make a lot of money or you can get washed right down the stream here. So with the stocks that have institutional buy and sell pressure, a large portion of the order gets done right on the open or in the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, but they can't slam the market with everything, whether it's a buy or a sell. But what they do is they get a large portion of it done, and we can hone in on that activity by using these windows. So for those of you who've been following for the maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks or longer, as you've gotten these windows from the webinar and started watching the correlations, man, over the past couple of weeks, we've seen some pretty interesting readings where the market's just kind of trudging along in the first 20 minutes, and then we'll see big upside bias, and then boom, off to the races. Last week when we had the big gap up day and the continuation, these guys told the story pretty well. Now today, I'm going to pull these results back over because here were the results today. And anything, you know, once we get over the 55% mark one way or the other, that typically is a pretty good bias. If we're under 55%, it's going to be one of those days where, well, not a whole lot's happening one way or the other. But over 60% typically means, well, you know, it means something. So seeing these high sell readings today, after the first 20 minutes, you know, myself and Andy and Steve are like, okay, well, should be interesting. Now, keeping that in mind, here we have the SPY, we had the gap down, 5, these are 5-minute candles here, so 5, 10, 15, 20. When I looked at my readings today, I'm like, okay, well, could just be a function of the immediate down move. You know, a lot of times we'll come out flat and just have some gyrations, but pretty good selling in the first 10 minutes. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, let's temper our expectations. Here we have the prior 2 days in the SPY, and we opened up today. Now, look how quick we got down there. We put that bottom in the first 10 minutes. I didn't even check my readings until here. So when you see the bottom being put in, even with these high readings to the sell side, you have to use the other pieces and go, well, we're still in a pretty good bull market, and we can't ignore the daily. So if the case had been this, if we would have stayed down here and punched through that prior day low with volume, which we did not do, and that was quite obvious, well then it might have been more geared to the short side. But in essence, since we had this little quick bounce off the bottom and never saw that bottom again, and we're getting the compare count readings here, and we noticed that our AI pretty much predominantly stacked to the long side with her strategies. So here's the takeaway. Okay, well, it doesn't look like the market's going to break down, even though we had higher sell activity than normal. So what I'm going to, how I perceive that information is, well, still going to be longs on the table today, but my expectations for continuation are very slim. So in other words, there's going to be some good setups. Don't get greedy, and you know, stay on your toes as far as protecting any profits that you get in to the long side today. Now, of course, just like any other day, there were some stocks that continued to run. Andy's going to show you some of them. We've got a nice big runner on Holly today, but the theory that I just sketched out here, well, we're not breaking down to the downside, but you better mind your P's and Q's to the long side. And guess who also told us the same thing here through her performance through the day? And of course, kind of a small risk off and risk on chart over here, but we can see we were pretty profitable on risk on for a good portion of the open here. And then before you know it, I mean, today, I'm not kidding, I've got many monitors, and I was looking at Holly, and then I was over here doing something else, maybe tweeting about something, checking on a position or whatever. And I turned back, and it was almost all gone. So, I mean, this move from profitability down to negativity, it happened pretty quick. A little bit more dramatic on the risk off side. 1 minute we're up here, and then the next minute, whoosh, back down. Once again, jiving perfectly with the expectations I'd gleaned from the compare count window. All right, take your money, because if you want more, next time that plate comes around, there's just going to be crumbs. And sure enough, that's exactly what played out today. So the compare count windows, you know, once you get used to the feel and then comparing that with the market action, it really can give you some very good expectations moving forward through the day, because that's very important. You're going to hear traders from all different walks of the industry say, you've always got to stick to your rule set, stop losses, profit targets, time holds, but you must constantly adjust your expectations. And that's really what these compare count windows are designed for, helping us temper our expectations, know how hard the wind might be blowing, if there's any wind whatsoever, and is that wind blowing north or south.
Good point, Jamie. It's almost like yeah, it can kind of give you an idea of where the money's flowing, obviously, in the first 20 or 30 minutes. So you do temper your expectations, but also it can set up for, like you said, if that market would have finally horseshoed over and started going down to the downside, you know, then you kind of have a trust and verify. Okay, you're trusting this compare count early in the morning because it doesn't lie. It told you what the action was in the morning. Now you're having a verification of the range break below, and then you could get more confident on going short. Wouldn't you agree, Jamie?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And you know, that's more like, okay, once again, letting it come to you. All right, these are my expectations. These are my thoughts. Now, there's no point in rushing it. You got to let the things unfold. It's like a lot of the times when these stocks gap up, you know, these big 3 or 4% gap ups, you know. They open up and they go sideways, so you just draw a little channel there and go, okay, if it breaks, I'll take a stab on the long side. If it comes down, maybe it wants to fill part of the gap, I'll take a shot on the short side, only if that channel is nice and tight. So lots of different ways to perceive the data, but some ways are a little bit more efficient, a little bit more scientifically oriented than others.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's, we can see here Holly came with a pretty stacked deck today. She came to the party with 11 strategies. Of course, we can see the majority of those were long, 9 longs and 2 shorts. These guys down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, didn't even issue a trade. Just because the strategy makes it doesn't mean the parameters are going to be met, or if any stock out there did not meet these parameters today, because they are very specific. So we got off to a pretty good start, and of course folded back over and then pretty much stayed in the doldrums all day. Risk on got a little bit of a kick back at the end of the day there, but that was predominantly because of this guy right here. And it's been a while since we saw one like this. ALDX, ladies and gentlemen. What a beautiful entry.
Oh, man.
I mean, it was just perfect correlation with the range break there. And let me just expand these bars out a little bit, because what do we have? We had nice sideways action from this little guy. And then as soon as it creeps up here, pops, Holly's like, I'm going to have a piece of that. And of course, she gets out using her profit save functionality, which is basically this shaded area right here. So boom, it goes immediately. And Holly right now, her strong suit are the statistically weighted entries. She's not the brightest AI when it comes to exits. Now, I'm excited simply because I'm testing the new exit logic functionality today, which hopefully is going to get rolled out maybe in the next couple of weeks here. But we've been improving her exit functionality, profit save, and her reduced risk, in essence making it smarter. So moving forward, I think we're going to see better risk on profits, because when we first brought Holly online, we just had to make sure she wouldn't let a winner turn into a loser. So her exit functionality is relatively simple, and that's why we have risk on and risk off. So, on this example right here, we're in the money, never came anywhere close to our stop. We see Holly getting out. Boy, if we would have said, okay, well, you know what, I see Holly's getting out. Maybe you peel out of half with her on risk off and save the other half for risk on, in which case you would have been rewarded handsomely throughout the day. Now, the other beautiful part about this chart is we can start marking it up. And, here we have the first occurrence of this very simple intraday range break. Come up here, pop a new high, takes another little nap, creeps back up here, cracks it, and hugs the line one more time, goes again. Actually, several different opportunities to leverage your position. Once you identify a buyer such as this, and we start seeing these nice little patterns, if you can draw horizontal lines, you can start identifying where the next entry may be, which sounds kind of simple, just me here talking about it, but if you're a new trader, that's one of the hardest things to wrap your brain around eventually, is adding, and you hear that all the time from many different teachers of trading, many different styles. Cut your losers when you're supposed to, add to your winners. Well, easier said than done, especially if you might be a new trader, and when you're up in a position, if you're not real technological, if you're not a technician just yet, but an aspiring one, you might not know when to make that second entry. This is one of the more, I guess, sane ways of figuring out when to do that. A nice chart, moving sideways with additional pops, clearly definable range breaks here.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see Holly bails a little early, risk on a point basis, 375 potential, but wow, what a percentage gain, up 52% at the close, and even getting a little bit of action in the post market. Other than that, we can see Holly had a pretty up and down day. Nothing really too big to speak of here. Looks kind of like an equal weighting here on the risk off entries and exits. We can see over here she saved a little bit of money on some things, left a little bit of money on the table on others as far as minimizing her losses. And of course, the big thing that just blew it out of the park today was the ALDX. IMAX, not a bad little trade here either.
Nice little entry in that one.
Nice little bottom tick here. And a lot of the times we'll have some that are, you know, red over here from a reduced risk standpoint, or maybe even a stop out that eventually turn green. But don't really have any cases of those today. We typically call those trade rounds, but just due to the nature of the day, none of those today. Is mainly just taking a little bit more risk to try to squeeze a little bit out of this spread here, anywhere between risk off and risk on. But other than that, Andy, you know, once again, all longs, you know, Holly didn't see any. The shorts were there, but Holly didn't trigger any shorts today. And for a day where we just kind of, you know, this range was not big at all. You know, what are we at right here? 250. What are we at the low right here? What? 249.61 up to a high of 250.32.
Yeah.
So not even a 1 point range in the SPY today.
Yeah.
And of course, when you look at the daily, it becomes a lot more evident of the lackluster movement. Now, having said that, this is Holly, the statistical model. Not a really big surprise that there wasn't a whole lot of statistical viability in this day. Sometimes it's not like that. But Andy, I know that you've got that window with the high volume, and I think we did have, and what I'm about to say next is pretty interesting, happens a lot. Whether it's me, Steve, or Andy, we all see our good trades, we all have our different little methodologies and whatnot, but like, I saw your little sheet earlier, Andy, and I saw SQ was on there too.
That's right.
Now, you know, of course, from knowing that we're in a constant bull market, we're going to have a little fluctuation, little digestion days. Keeping your, you know, your powder dry on stocks like SQ. I mean, this thing just ripped all day. Took a little pullback right here. But we both found this from a high volume scan, Andy, even though yours is a little bit different than mine.
Sure, that's exactly right. And so it's great about this technology, yeah, for sure.
And let's see, what was, bear with me here, I covered up my screen here, but let's just see real quick before I pass it back over to you.
No problem.
Where I found it, and then we'll compare it to where you found it.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, it might even be the same spot. So SQ today. Right, so, you know, I'm a big fan of the range break. So this is pretty early on, you know, with the 5-minute candles here.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it came across a turbo up family right here.
There you go.
Hitting highs, doing accelerated volume. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. And of course, we all know Square has a tendency to get up and run sometimes. So of course, that's where I spotted it on the high volume. I don't know if that's where you found it, or maybe it was a little before or a little after. But the bottom line is, very simple metrics were used to find this setup, whether it's mine or Andy's, but the theory behind it all is, when you boil it down, it's price action coupled with that high volume. And
that's what pays, man. It really is, yes.
Back and then just goes higher for the day. All right, if you're ready,
good stuff. Yeah,
and we'll take a look at what you got.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's nice to know that yeah, you could definitely find this stuff on, you know, more than one alert for sure. Let me show my screen here.
Yeah.
And for Scott, yes, Scott, I'm glad you came back today. Just because we know there's more people in here besides you who are kicking the tires, want to know what Trade Idea is all about. And you know, for the most part, it's exactly what the name conveys. It's trade ideas. We generate ideas for traders, and you can create your own alerts. I just was answering somebody's question there for asking me. I just dropped the email in there. We have a PDF with all of our cloud links on it, all of our favorite cloud links that we will share with you. So you will have instantly all of our best alerts. We don't like rat hole them and say, oh, I'm not going to share this because this is my baby. No, we don't do that. But it's good to learn how to create your own, because you're going to want to customize it to fit your niche. You might not like trading $100 stocks. Maybe you want to trade 10 to 20, 10 to $30 stocks. So you can take these, any alert that you get, and customize it to yourself. But real simple. Let me just show you there, Scott, and others who may want to, to learn. We have 3 different types of our windows. One is called an A window, the other one is a T window, and the last one is an M window. The A window is for alerts, T is for top list, and M is for multi-strategy. All right, so when you are, first thing I always do is I ask myself what I'm looking for. What am I looking for? Am I looking for something that will alert me with an event like a new high that's doing volume that I want to take action quickly on? If that's the case, I want to use an A window, an alert window. If I'm using it just for scanning, like this pullback above 50 SMA Pro, where I'm just looking for stocks that, having a nice pullback, but putting in like a nice bullish bar for maybe me to trade the next day. This is just for scanning. I can look at this in the evening. You can see all these symbols, they froze in here. So I can look at this in the evening and mark them up. Look at this EPZM right here. Huge relative volume. Tried to gap down and just sold off. Look at that volume bar. This is one I want to keep an eye on. This is one I want to mark up with a price alert. Create a price alert and just call it huge volume momentum. Put a little question mark there just in case there's no follow through, and now I have a price alert. Just so much stuff you can do with the software by using top list and alerts. But what I want to show you now is basically how to just build a really killer momentum alert. And the first thing you do, you can launch anything we have from the new tab. Okay, we're going to launch an alert window. All right, we are going to clear off all the settings that are currently in here just by double clicking on this start from scratch until we get an orange arrow there. And then what I normally do and what I teach people in the 101s is just work from straight across from left to right and build your alert. And you will use the search function a lot, because anytime you have an idea in your head, maybe about Fibonacci's, you can just start typing FIB, and now I know everything we offer about Fibonacci's. But what I'm going to do here is, everybody seems to be interested in momentum alert, and for good reason. Momentum is great, and momentum is just not for day trading. I've been preaching this a lot lately. You can find some incredible 3 or 4 day holds on in these momentum alerts. So we're just going to use a regular old high alert, and we are just going to add, and I'm just going to just click there in the little box. You have to do that to confirm every alert. Then we're going to move over to window specific filters. All right, you can, this is where you use to build your parameters. So say you don't like trading stocks below $5, so you can just put a minimum here of 5. You will not see any alerts come through if the stock's trading below $5. Okay, next thing I always do is I want to define my average daily volume. So I'm going to go back to the search function. I'm just going to type in AV daily, or DAI there, and there it is. I'm going to select a 10-day, add filter, and I am looking for stuff that's pretty thick. Okay, let's say you want to find stuff that's pretty thick, because you may want to hold this stuff for 3 days, and most stocks that are that trade 500,000 shares, okay, you're going to have a thin, you're probably going to have a penny spread. If they trade 500,000 shares a day and they're over $5, they're pretty, it's going to be difficult to wake up the next morning and the company's gone bankrupt, versus trading stocks that may trade at 78 cents and do 200,000 shares a day. So I'm looking for something, where I got huge volume, good average daily volume. And so now we're refining it more and more. You just see, did I put in 500? Yeah, I did. All right, so real simple, change from the close. I am looking for momentum, so I want this to be up more than just a few cents. All right, I am looking for something that's up 1% on the day at least. All all right? Because I am, once again, I'm looking for alpha. I'm looking for things that are going to be exploding up big on the day. And then the way we decide what's doing huge volume is we have many filters for that. And some of my favorite are the volume in the 5 minute and the volume in the 1 minute. So if I'm really looking for explosive volume, I'm going to come into this 1 minute and I'm going to put 5 minute, I'm going to put 500. Click on my little show me button here. It's going to tell me the volume in the last 5 minutes is at least 500% of normal. Okay, this so intuitive this software is. I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, it's very powerful. You will have to learn some things, but once you do start learning some things, you're going to see how intuitive it is and how easy it is to work with after a few weeks. So give it some time. Okay, 1 minute. I am going to do 1,000%, which is basically 10 times normal 1 minute volume. Okay, so I'm definitely looking for things that are doing huge volume. Has to be up on 1% on the day. Building my parameters. Now I'm going to take this one step further, and you're going to see when I show you my extreme volume high-low pro. You need to learn to look for stocks that are breaking out of a range. If I left this filter just like it is right now, I'm going to get a lot of false alerts. And what I mean by that, I'm going to get a lot of alerts that are just kind of in what I call no man's land. They're in the middle of a sloppy 5-day range. For whatever reason, I don't care about catching them real early. Okay, I'd rather see them clearing certain levels. So the way we do that is we have what's called position in range filters. So I'm just going to type in POS in and look at all these position in range filters here. So I am going to come in here and put position in a 10-day range, and I'm going to add this filter, and then I'm going to put in 98% right here. So what that is telling me, let's just take a look. Now remember, this does not include today, okay? It's talking about the position in the prior 10-day range. So I click on my little show me button. The price is at least 98% above the low end of this range. Well, obviously, if it's 98% off the low end, it means it's just 2% from going through a 10-day high. So now I know I have a stock that is doing incredible volume. All my price parameters and volume parameters are set in there, and now I know it's either broken out of a 10-day range or it's about to. Okay, I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to choose position in 20-day range, and I'm going to add a filter. And I am going to put 90% in the 20-day. So now not only do I know it's about to break out of a 10-day, or it's already has broken out, but now it's either broken out of a 20-day range too, or it's about only 10% from doing so. So now I can't tell you how much stuff, junk, I filtered out by doing this. And this is what makes my extreme volume high-low so effective. Basically, I am using pretty much the exact, close to it anyway. I'm just going off the top of my head. I can't remember. I think I have 85% on the 20-day range. But nonetheless, this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to show you some stocks over here as I go into my next segment talking about the extreme volume high-low pro. But this is the kind of stuff you want to do. And you'll see when I show you these stocks, you're going to be seeing them on the daily chart and how they're breaking out of ranges. Now, I don't have any max here, so these things can be hitting a 52-week high, okay? I don't care about the max. I just want them either breaking out or close to breaking out of these ranges, okay? So I'm going to filter out all the noise. All right, so let me just click OK here. I'm really not going to share this one because honestly, what I was trying to show you is the stuff that I did to create this extreme volume high-low pro. So if I go into this one right here and I go to configure the extreme volume and show you, you are going to see exactly what I'm talking about. So here we go. Change from close up 1%. I forgot to put a relative volume in the other one. The relative volume comes with a kind of a warning. Be careful with relative volume. I never put it more than 1.5 because if a stock gets active during maybe 3 or 4 hours after the market's open, it might be doing 1,000 or 10 times normal 1 minute volume. It might be doing 500% 5 minute volume. But because it got going so late in the day, the relative volume could be at 1.5, 1.67, 1.8. So be careful putting 2.5, 2 or 3 in this relative volume because you might miss out on a few trades. So I usually only put about 1.5 at the most in that relative volume. In most cases, you are going to see it around 2 or 3 or more. But anyway, I don't want to miss something if it happens during 4 hours maybe after the market open. All right, so let's see how effective this is. And guys, I've been talking about, and I'm trying to get more and more people to slow it down in the first 20 or 30 minutes. And I've been showing you example after example how you could come in here and watch your alerts, watch the market, and don't be afraid you're going to miss something. There's plenty of opportunity in the marketplace, but so many people get in trouble just trading right off the bell. And I think I have an example right here. BIDA was actually pretty good if you had taken that one. But in cases where I do, just showing you BIDA real quick, if I see breakouts like this right here, and it's doing it on strong volume like BIDA was doing this morning, I may bend that rule about sitting on my hands, you know, the first 20 or 30 minutes. Because what I would do if I'm trading something like this and it breaks out of this last month high and I see it coming through my extreme volume low, I know I can take that trade because if it retraces and goes back down below this, I will get out. So if you have a rule, it's okay to trade early, but you have to have your stop in mind and know exactly what you're doing. So you're not getting sucked into something like, let me see, I'm sure I can find one in here somewhere. That was actually a pretty good one too. I thought I had one that went off. There it was. I just saw it.
Yeah, Andy, while you're looking for it, that you're exactly right. It's if you have a game plan on the open, there is
Absolutely
nice money in the open, but it's expert only. It's double black diamond.
It really is.
You know, so just keep that in mind.
You got to, yeah, you have to be careful. Well, here's an example too. I mean, some of these things, you know, you can catch early, but I see so many head fakes. You know, this one went off pretty early, about after 15 minutes. You know, now you're getting close to that time frame, 20 or 30 minutes, and not only that, look at Holly's little support line. It was breaking through, so you had it right at, resistance line. With your high alerts now, Holly will show you the areas where the resistance is. So on this thing, you know, if you do have a very important psychological, this is probably the most important psychological number level, the $5, because this is when mutual funds can start getting involved. Hedge funds will get involved. So you have a $5 level here. But let's say you were even patient and you waited, you know, let's say till 9 o'clock. Sticking to your guns about being patient and observing the market. There it is at 5:19. Even, 17, 18 minutes later. Okay, the thing went all the way up to, you know, 570 range. So plenty of alpha there, even if you were patient and waited to the 9 o'clock, you know, time frame. And here's the argument I want to make a lot, because I know what people are thinking, like, gosh, why do I want to let it run that long and then grab it? It's gone a long ways, Andy. I don't want to chase that. But think of it this way, okay? If it has traded for 30 minutes and it's still hitting highs, doing 25 times normal 1 minute volume, you know, 10 times normal 5 minute value, what kind of strength is that? I mean, good Lord. I mean, that's just more confirmation to me, man. This thing is run for 30 minutes and yet you still have this huge amount of volume coming in. This is when you start talking about multi-day holds. This is not just day traders, okay? These are people that could be, you know, on top of day traders that are taking positions for multi-days. And you can see the follow through there, even, you know, close to highs. Let's go on to the next one. CRR, I don't think that did a whole lot today. Yep, that was a head fake, but look at there. It never really got through Holly's little support, little resistance line. Looking at the daily here, yeah, it was a nice, 2 or 3 month high, but if you scroll out, you can see a lot of, congestion back over here. So I'm always looking at the daily chart. Let's take a look at LIVN. Good Lord, here it goes, 907. So this is basically almost 40 minutes after the market open, and you get alert at 66.65. Oh man, Andy, it's gone too far. I don't want to chase that. Well, first of all, this is one of my favorite patterns right there. A stock that's recently hit on a daily chart. You can please remember this pattern. Okay, recently broke off, then you have 3 pullback days in a row, and then you have what's called a reversal day. This is why I built my pullback above 50 SMA to find things like this, and then just look at that, just incredible movement. But even if you were patient and waited, 66.65, and it was closed over 68. Once again, this could have some continued movement in it. Couple more to look at, guys, and I think you're getting the point here. CTO, yeah, once again, just kind of, you have a lot of congestion right over here, so I would be, leery of that. Pop up, had a little bit of alpha left into it, but then came back down. Still some chance to make some money waiting late. Let's take a look at Marvell. This is over 45 minutes after the market opened. 1802. Got up here to about 1837. Look, no pain either. I mean, it's just nice momentum there. Once again, potential long-term trade there, closing on a multi-month high. Look at that. This is how you can find stocks to not only day trade, but stocks to hold. And I think I had and there's SQ, 2803, almost an hour after the market opened at 2803, and basically 80 cents of upside movement, closing on a maybe an all-time high.
Hey, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick here, we're getting a question about the magical red line, the resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is the alert? Is that the new high alert? Is that the catalyst in that one strategy, right?
Exactly.
Right. So let's see, who is that?
So you're not going to see. See, here's Fing. Here's Fing when it went off this morning. It was already in there for you.
Right. And so
go ahead.
The user was asking the question, how do we activate that line? I'm like, well, it's already present in the system, but it's typically only showing up when the new high is used as the alert.
Right.
Because that information is built into that alert. Like, for example, if you had a description column, it would say, hey, this stock's hitting a new high, and the next batch of short-term resistance is going to be right here from so many days ago.
Exactly.
So that red line only shows up when you have new high as the alert for the strategy.
That you're correct. You're correct. It only works. It's obviously not going to work with a top list. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, but if you have a new high, it makes common sense. It tells you, but if you have a new high and you're playing to the long side, yeah, you want to see where the next level of resistance is going to be, and that's exactly what this our software will show you. I will do some tests on it. I haven't seen it on anything, but I really don't use when it comes to alerts anything else. There's Marvell again. There's SQ again, and really late in the day, look at this DPLO. Let's take a look at this. This is about an hour and 5 minutes after the market opened, and didn't do a whole lot. Gave you a little bit. Maybe that wasn't the one I was looking for. Maybe I'll have to go dig through here again. I thought it may have been, but nonetheless, look at the daily on that one. This is something that could have an extended move there. You got a little gap fill. Look at the next level of. There's your line there on the. Be interesting. Yeah, be interesting. If this thing does get back through this high tomorrow, it may want to go for that gap. But guys, what I wanted to do. This has been a very powerful alert, and because it shows you, where some incredible alpha is. Okay, it has to be breaking out of certain ranges. that's when you build, I mentioned it in the agenda there, the anatomy of a good, Momo trade. You just don't want to put in volume filters and new high. You want to use a position and range filter so you can find stuff that's breaking out of a range. That's where you're going to find your continued momentum, versus you can take this alert and actually take out those range filters, and you'll find a lot of slop in there. So save yourself some time, filter out the noise, find those stocks that are moving. Maybe that was it. Was it COD? Yeah. Anyway, we're getting late on time. Maybe it was COD that came through there. Yeah, early. But yeah, we're running out of time here. So what I'm going to do, guys. How did you set up the color bands? Oh, good question there, Daniel. What you can do is just go to your strategy, configure, and you see where it says colors. Don't click on configure, just go over like that and click on it, and then you can set up your foreground and your background.
Good stuff, Andy. And you know what? There's several symbols that you went over that everybody should make it a point to watch them very closely tomorrow.
The next few days. But yeah, for those people like Scott who are coming here to see what the software has to offer, I mean, trust me, people that don't have this software, I can't tell you the days back when I did not have anything, when me and Jamie first started trading, and you'd be sitting here fighting with this flopping apple all day.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the overall markets. They didn't do anything today, but look what our software was able to show you. It was able to point to you, hey, look over here. Stuff's going on here. Check it out. So with that said, we are out of time, so I'm going to bring in Scott to walk us out of here. You guys hang on. I know he's going to offer you a discount. So Scott, if you want to come back in.
Sure, thank you.
We'll close them out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to have a podcast episode coming out tomorrow if you're all subscribed. Thank you. If you're not yet a subscriber, visit your favorite podcast application, whatever you use to listen, and search for Trade Ideas Podcast and add us. And then you will get the new fresh podcast tomorrow. There's also some great episodes in the archive. We've been doing it for almost a year now, and check those out. There's a code available. You can also download a handout, which will have the code and some handy contact information. There's a handouts panel. Just click on the little arrow next to it to expand it, then you can download using the link there. The code Holly Studio works for September, and that saves 15% off your first month or year of trade ideas. You can apply that to upgrading from standard to premium as well. You just go to your account management section off the website and click on change your subscription. Otherwise, if you're signing up for the first time, just go to the pricing section and click on the tier that you want, whether it's standard or premium, and enter Holly Studio in when you buy, and you'll save instantly on your first installment. Shoot any questions you have to info@trade-ideas.com, and then make sure you're following us on the social stuff. Steve Gomez is Today Trader, and Jamie Hodge is QuantBot on Twitter. Facebook.com/TradeIdeasPros, how to find us on Facebook. Go ahead and like that and share the stuff we post with your friends. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Andy and Jamie.
You're welcome. Hey, I see some requests for that, guys. I'm sorry. If you will just send a request to info@trade-ideas.com, like it's on your screen there, right there. I will get you. Just request that extreme volume high-low, and I will send it to you. No problem. The cloud link. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.